one of the best finesse tactics that you can use in the fall, and it works year round, is a wacky rig. Now, when I mentioned wacky rig, the original wacky is a straight tail worm hooked in the middle. That's not the technique I'm using. I'm using a modified wacky where we add a little weight to the head and we get the bait down where we can work it in deeper water. What we've got here is an X-Sight Slim X. It's a straight tail worm. We're going to take one of these. I'm going to take a couple out because I'm going to show you a couple of different riggings. We take a crappie jig head, like so. I've clipped the eyelet off of it so that it won't catch grass. And we're just going to thread this hook in just like you were doing an earthworm or like when you was a kid or crickets. You're going to bring this thing in and thread it out. You're going to slide it up on the shank, like so. And then you're going to take a pair of pliers and you're just going to grab this hook in the bend and push with the head and bend that point right back into the worm so that there's nothing up there that can catch. So that actually makes that weedless. So what we're going to do now is we have a 4-inch zip tie, and we're going to take it and insert it or squeeze it down on the middle, what we call the egg sac of the worm, like so. We're going to zip that down there pretty good. What this allows you to do is catch multiple fish on one worm. If you just run your hook through there, you can throw it off and cause a backlash. You set the hook, you rip it out. This will allow you to catch 10 or 15 fish on one worm, and sometimes up to 20. We're going to get that down there semi-tight. We're just going to take our cutters and just cut that off. And now, that's how we're going to rig it. We're going to take a mustad hook, which is the octopus beak hook we have right here. And the bigger bait I use, the bigger hook. I've got 4s here. I prefer a 2 on a wacky, but I've got a package of 4s here, and it's just an octopus beak hook. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to take that hook and we're going to insert it right below that band, that little zip tie, against the worm, just like so. So as it drops in the water column, it's going to drop just like this. And when you set the hook, you're going to be jerking against the zip tie, not the plastic. It'll set down on bottom and you're going to bounce it just like this off top of the grass. When you have deeper grass, what you're trying to do is just jiggle it, and fall in a hole where the fish is actually hiding. So you'll just kind of skip it on top of the grass or bump it off bottom, either one. When you're in grass, you really want to fall in those holes and just keep shaking it right off top of it. And this allows that worm to stand straight up and look like it's actually feeding off bottom or off the top of the grass. And the other thing, when you get into some covers, you notice the hook is riding up against the worm. So you've got a little bit of protection of hang-ups just from the back side of the worm being like this, because you're going to be jerking it like that. Gives you a great hookup when you set the hook. It is an absolute fast way to catch fish. It's a fun way to catch fish, whether you're lake fishing or pond fishing. It just works. You can change your size of heads, how deep you want to fish, to a slow fall or a faster fall. And this here particular one's 1/8 ounce. The sun's come up today. I think I'm going to be working about 8 to 10 foot. So that's what I'm going to do with it right there. I'm going to stay with the 8. Now another way we rig this, same thing. We're going to do the zip tie again. We're going to change the weighted head up just a little to a method I've been doing for a couple of years now, and it's using a drop shot weight with a hitchhiker. We're just using this. We'll have this one rigged up for later. We can use different styles. I hadn't seen one style outdo the other or anything like that. So what we have is a 16 ounce drop shot weight, like so. And then we have what they call a hitchhiker, or in this case it's called a hitching post. The company I get this one from, Do It Lures, Do It Molds. This is a hitching post. So you got a little hook on it, and what you're going to do is you're going to put it in that eyelet, insert it in that eyelet. You're going to bring it around to where it hooks like that, and just take your pliers, and you're just going to squeeze it too so that you don't lose your weight. So you've got that in there so you don't lose your weight. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that and screw that into the head of this worm. And what that's going to do is going to allow that weight to shake a little bit. So we have the same thing now, but we have the weight on top of the worm where it's going to shake like that right there. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to put your hook back like we talked about up against the worm, and you can rig them with an 1/8 ounce, and or that's a 16th, and this is an 1/8 here. And you know, this thing will work just like the crappie jig head. The only thing that I find on the crappie jig head sometimes is the fish will bite that head, and sometimes when you catch them, they'll jerk this out because they see that chartreuse head and they'll bite it from that end, and sometimes you jerk it out. But that's your two different hookups right there, the way I like to do those wacky rigs. This is a modified wacky. This is not an original. This is a modified wacky. Most of the guides, most of the fishermen out there nowadays insert nails and all kinds of things to actually give the bait some weight. Well, this is two ways that I like versus the nail. The nail inside the bait gives it a, you lose 40% of the worms straight up when it's on bottom. If the nail's in it, it leans in an angle like this. With this type weight here, it's always straight up and down. And that's more effective to catch fish. It's more appealing to the fish, and you're gonna catch a lot more with it like that. So these are a couple of ways that I do. We're going to dip the tail in these, and we're going to dip them just about 1/8 of an inch. I've noticed fish at Lake Fork are real picky about how much you dip. And I've noticed a lot of times if you dip over 1/4 inch, you just don't catch very many, so keep it to 1/8. The good thing about the X-Sight Slim X, the buoyancy of it, it floats anyway. It floats really good, so it's always going to float up like this. But when you're keeping tension against it, you're just bouncing it like it's feeding off the deal. And the good thing about that weight jiggling around too, it will not hang up as much on that weight like that as the other one will kind of get in some grass and some wood. But that's why we clip the eyelet off so it don't hang grass or hang wood as often. And you're using that to make it stand straight up and down. So let's go put these to action to see if we can catch some fish on them. It's a great tactic in the fall. It's one of my favorite to fish in the fall. You'll catch numbers and it will catch size. So we're gonna go put them to work and see what'll happen. See if we can catch some of these fish off the grass. May try it on some wood later on too. So let's go see what we can do.